We're going.
We're going.
So today we're going to be talking about my brand, my news media network, and my healthy fashion campaign. So I have 3 businesses that are comprised and kind of rounded into one consecutive business because they all kind of intercorrelate. As a fashion designer, I am an emerging fashion designer. We did get into the Saks Fifth Avenue talent search about 2 weeks ago, so that was an enormous accomplishment for me, just having a brand for only a year. So it's just such an incredible feeling. I wasn't the winner. There were 75 designers and only 2 winners, but it was an incredible event. So my news media network is Alternative Fashion Media, and basically it's really just kind of getting people sort of interested in eco-fashion, alternative fashion, and really learning about the sustainable fashion industry, about what it's all about. It's an incredible time now where we're at in this world, and being sustainable comprises of so many different things. It's not just about the fabric, it's about the ethics. It's about style and how we present ourselves. There's just a whole revolution of behind fashion that can speak to people on different types of levels, on an emotional level, on a mental level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level. There's a mind-body connection that we have between fashion and our body, and to be able to communicate ourselves through this growing time on planet Earth, we have to really take into consideration the entire ecosystem of what we're wearing and how we're achieving our own philosophy and theories behind what we wear. So the News Media Network is really trying to bring in people who are concerned about the environment, but they're also stylish and they're chic, and they really want to be both. And it takes, it actually doesn't take much effort. It's just the knowledge and sort of open-mindedness that we have to have in order to grow in the fashion industry and just as a community as a whole, just for everybody involved. It's not just the fashion industry's responsibility, it's actually us as a consumer because we buy the product. The designers would think different if we were to say, no, I don't want plastic, no, I don't want that product and I can't wear it on my body. And naturally, things are actually evolving where people are being hypersensitive to fabrics, so we have to think about that. I know that there's a booming industry in regards to this new organics because people are trying to step away from GMOs. They're starting to step away from chemicals. So we're going to learn all about this in this thing. We have about 45 minutes, and then we're going to take questions afterwards for about 15 minutes. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So, okay, what is eco-fashion? So in regards to eco-fashion, it has to be eco, it has to be sustainable, it has to be natural, it has to be organic. So there's just so much being thrown at us, all these words. What do they mean? Are they contradictory? Are they suggestive? It's a very overwhelming process to kind of understand what is sustainable. So I'm basically trying to list these 4 things as a whole: eco, sustainable, natural, organic. We have to think about how our product is made, where our product is made, what our product is made out of. And I don't think it's a consumer's responsibility to learn all of those things, but to be able to, you guys are probably, interested in fashion and you want to know these things. So basically, at this point, fashionistas are going to be the ones kind of stepping up to the plate, the ones that have a consciousness towards, integrating fashion, higher thinking fashion and lighting fashion into the mainstream. So it doesn't just take the fashion industry designer brand to correlate this. It actually does take the fashionistas and the consumers that want to represent what they're wearing, how they're wearing it, and everything. So the protection of the earth, of plant, animal, and humans. So we have basically 3 different types of fibers, and these 3 different types of fibers, they do coexist as of now, but they do create some different forms of separation between, how we relate to the earth. So our opinions, beliefs, and theories will basically be able to suggest what types of fibers we're responding to and what we're wearing. So there's basically animal, plant, and synthetic. Animal is leathers, skins, furs, basically anything that is derived from animal is the animal fibers. And wool is one, so it can be or hair, it can also be the hairs that are shaved off of an animal. Then we also have the plant. This is the #1 fiber on Earth. In my perspective, I really do feel like what we eat and what we wear are they correlate. So when we eat a plant-based diet, we eat vegetables and plants, and we're giving these life-giving properties to our body in a really beautiful way. So when we eat these plants, we also have to consider what we put on our body. Is it going through our skin? Are we dressing our body, or are we feeding our body with our fabrics? And there's going to be more studies on this in regards to how chemical dyes and chemical fabrics are feeding our body, whether it's negatively or positively. There are some, studies out there. It's hard to get that kind of research on a consumer level at this point. We need more, and that's where my Healthy Fashion campaign comes in. The Healthy Fashion campaign is going to be all about promoting these healthy fabrics. Basically, opposing and providing information about where these unhealthy fabrics originated, why did they originate, and are they going to be the future of fashion? So we'll get into that a little bit later. If the product isn't ethical, it's not eco. So where we are here on this planet, eco fashion and ethical fashion coexist. In regards to ethics, we have to not compromise where these fabrics are originated. And all the farmers, most of them are overseas. We have to acknowledge those overseas farmers that are potentially enslaved. They're enslaved in the system of fashion. And would they be worse off if they didn't have those, fashion jobs, pennies for an hour? We don't know. However, at this time, fair trade is an extremely important part of getting the fashion industry on a level that's substantial, because it's not just about bringing everything local. We have to reach out and we have to fix what we've started. We've started enslavement in the fashion industry overseas. Now we can't just remove our companies and factories in China and India and everywhere and say, okay, we'll go local, and that's the fix. It really is about, okay, let's start with change. Let's pay them more money. Let's get fair trade involved. Those certifications. Is my clothing, is it fair trade? And if it's not fair trade, how can we investigate it? And there are some campaigns that are creating more issues in regards to fashion transparency. And that is, when you go to a website, you will find a listing of whether or not they're involved in fair trade, and if they're not, can we question if they're going to change their policy. And there was a really great article in Vogue the other day that I read, and it's really not choice anymore. Whether we go, it's not like modern thinking to be eco anymore. It's actually like we're proving that it has to happen. Because of the global warming and everything, we can't just cut these costs and cut these ends with slave labor. It's just, at this point, it's an environment and human issue. And this issue is creating separation on the planet. So we really have to think about ethics and how global warming is involved. So if we have this enslavement with the people, we're enslaving these people into these jobs, but then the fabric we're using is so cheap to make. We can make it fast. The synthetic stuff is fast. It's all chemical. There's no landscapes where you're farming and picking cotton. Or flax. You're just, basically using test tubes to make these chemicals and drop and make all this sludge to turn into a fiber, which doesn't take a lot of labor. So it's kind of creating more labor on the end of the people in the manufacturing industry. So it's just sort of like this thing that's kind of coming together, that if we use plant-based fabrics, we get into more wholesome thinking of how we're going to make these fibers really just to help the environment with less global warming. Or if you don't believe in global warming, that's totally fine. Pollution, oil, making fabrics out of oil is causing a lot of pollution. So do you guys kind of get that cycle? How it's not just the people, it's not just the fabric and where what the fibers are made out of, and it's not like the environment's fault. Okay. What makes the brand sustainable? So this is what I would love planet Earth to look like, and I think we all want this.
Dreamers.
Yeah, we all want our planet to just be beautiful, and I think that we are all our own mini ecosystem. So we have to think of ourselves as a mini planet. And do we want to put plants on our body, or do we want to put this petroleum oil byproduct that is used like gasoline on our bodies? In regards to the fashion industry, you can't get a lot of high fashion anymore that's made out of plants. It is actually a minority to find really high fashion. And then on an economical standpoint, it's also hard to dress high fashion if you are on a budget and you're trying to find natural fibers. So there's really this economical demand going with plastics because it's cheaper, but at the same account, it's actually causing health issues for us. And they may be subtle, they may not be what we can actually see with our own eyes, but there's a lot of mysterious disease happening on this planet, and we have to really consider how these chemicals are affecting our body. And are we breathing them in? I mean, all our plastic is going to the ocean, it's getting into the fish, and we're eating the plastic from the fish. Our skin is the largest organ, and it does not filter out toxins. So when we're sweating our pores open, chemicals get in through our body into the bloodstream, and this is the fact. And Greenpeace actually has done a segment on it as well. So there's going to be some developments in the near future where people will actually make choices, make different choices. And I feel like all of you, I can tell with your fashion, you guys get it already, and this might be no news to you. However, it's an expanding issue, and it's almost nearly impossible to wear 100% natural fibers. If you look at swimwear, for instance, what is swimwear made out of? It's synthetic. So we have these problems. Outerwear, ski jackets, hiking, we have this problem where we don't have all 100% fibers with these different categories in the fashion industry. I don't think there is very few limited plant-based swimwear outfits, and then scuba diving and all that, like all the swimwear. So it's gonna evolve though, and we will be developing fibers, and I will be one of them. Healthy fashion campaign will be introducing medicinal fibers, and I'll get more into that later. What makes a brand sustainable? Production, manufacturing, we've gotten into that. Basically, with the production and manufacturing, I don't know, has anybody heard of Rana Plaza? The collapse of Rana Plaza? So basically, yeah, the Rana Plaza, about 1,300 people died in the factory in India. It was a terrible disaster. The factory collapsed. I guess the certifications and the audits and everything did not pass, or they weren't being passed. And it's an incredible dilemma, because these factories and having 1,300 people die, we have to consider the enslavement involved with why a building would collapse. I mean, that's a pretty rickety building. So production, manufacturing, we have to get into an eco-space environment. Feng shui, we have to make sure people are in safe working conditions. I know even in the U.S., the fabric production in the U.S. alone too, it's not a pretty sight. And no matter where you are, no matter what factory, even in the U.S., it's not a pretty sight. It's extremely tedious work, it's extremely demanding work, so we have to kind of make a balance. Like, can these factories, can they also evolve education programs? Artisanships do this as well. Can we evolve more education so that they can raise and be empowered and maybe get out of the factory and not stay there, and be able to, you know, maybe be the manager, directing manager of their own factory to build up. So I feel like with the balance of with the factories, we also have to improve our education systems and having these safe working conditions. What matters is they're feeling supported. There's not only being supported by us, but they're being supported by their environment. This type of ethics involved is sort of being able to build a person up and make sure that they're growing and expanding as an individual. And as well as the Rana Plaza, we have to give them safer work conditions. So in regards to my healthy fashion campaign, we will be, you know, talking a little bit about the ethics of how we can create a better space for people that they're innocent and vulnerable people. They do not deserve to die. They don't deserve to be making pennies as well. So this integration of the supply chain, the fair trade, having more empowerment and education, because some of these underdeveloped countries, they need to be on a more grounded level in regards to being able to have suitable knowledge. Nobody should deserve to have, you know, a certain level of education and not grow. So I think that having artisan programs in underdeveloped countries and being able to promote these programs and educational programs in conjunction with fashion production would be optimal, and something I'm going to be supporting in my future. And it is happening. Some of these artisan programs, they do have empowerment and education programs inside. So this isn't brand new. This is happening, but we need to see more of it, I believe. Ethics, transparent supply chain, and this is another thing with a transparent supply chain. It's very difficult to find transparency within the supply chain, and for me, even as my own brand, I know I am an emerging designer. However, it's not always easy to lay down everything that's happening. Like, where are my fabrics? Do you have, well, fabrics to be sourced in a numerous amount of different places. So could they list each fabric supplier? It really has to be about what connections and what manufacturers are they hooking themselves up with, and is it ethical? Do they have the certifications involved? And do they mean business in regards to sustainability? I didn't really talk so much about my own brand, but I will in a little bit later. Socially responsible. And this actually goes as well, it goes in regards to what I was talking about with the educational programs. To be socially conscious on a grounded level, we have to enable these women and men who are in these factories sewing a chance to be able to create more opportunities for themselves. I think that does have to do with social responsibility as a community, on a community standpoint. And then we have fair trade, eco, and natural, and I basically summed that up. Natural is sort of it's a term that people are kind of confused about, like what's natural. Plants are natural, animals are natural, synthetics not natural. Do we want to wear plants? Do we want to wear synthetic? Do we want to wear animal? And this again, it has to go down with the roots of the person, and it has nothing to do with allergies. If someone's allergic to wool, okay, that's one thing. But then again, do we need to survive off of animals to like use their fiber? Some of it's very wholesome, you know, those farms where they have the sheep and they're shaving off the fur, but then you see the cruelty with alligators being stripped of their skins and a whole host of different types of animals being used. I know that the ivory is used on different like elephants and stuff, so we have to kind of find out where are we at as a community, and should we be wearing these animal fibers? Should we be mutilating them? There are some byproduct animal products, like I have a friend who makes scarves off of the byproduct of the food industry. So she takes the furs from after they're slaughtered from the food industry. So, you know, it's a very tricky way to really, so you just have to culminate your own presence and your own philosophy of what you want to wear, basically. There's no rhyme or reason, or there's no, like, you know, this is what you have to do. Personally, with my own ethics and my own actual philosophy, with my own diet and everything, you know, plants is really number one for me. And plants we haven't even touched upon the types of plants that we can even use. There's pineapple leather. That's a new one. Who's heard of pineapple leather? So there's actually fiber made out of fungus, mushroom fungus. There's these different types of fibers that we haven't even heard about, and they're really low key, but we'd like to get more into it. How about nettle? Have you guys heard of nettle fiber? Nettle fiber, and nettle is a really famous herb. It's a very medicinal herb. I actually take it, I drink it. And the nettles, being able to use that as like a fiber, I mean, it has to be medicinal to a degree. I mean, if you can get so much medicinal properties out of it, just drinking it, and then wearing it, we have to think, okay, can these herbs, like nettle, I think they use the nettle stems, can these stems be therapeutic to our body? Can they actually help us breathe? Well, plants are oxygen. We can't survive off the oxygen. And if we put plants on our body, we breathe better. This is definitely the number one reason why I love plants. I love plant fibers, because I know that what creates disease is an acidic disposition. Acidic is when you don't have enough oxygen. And like when you eat plants, you're giving your body oxygen. When you eat denatured foods, you're making your body acidic. So when we wear synthetic fibers that are made out of chemicals, we're actually creating an acidic disposition because we're not allowing our bodies to breathe, because the petroleum oil byproduct that the fiber is made up where it seals. It seals the body. So you're not getting that flow. You're not getting that flow of oxygen that we all need. But I think that everybody, you guys can relate, can't you? Can you identify? Has anyone ever identified when you wear a cotton t-shirt or a cotton long sleeve or something made out of plants and you feel like you can breathe better? It's very subtle, and to a point, it's not subtle for me because I'm extremely sensitive, I'm highly sensitive because of what I have, I'm just sensitive to it. I'm not allergic, I'm just sensitive and I can feel it. I work with energy a little bit, so I understand the whole Reiki and the energy that's involved with our aura. So synthetic can block. It can block the oxygen, and we all need oxygen to breathe. This is, what more better if we were able to get more oxygen through our fibers. I mean, oxygen supply. Think of all the hospital beds that may not be using cotton fiber. Could they be healing better if they were using more medicinal bed sheets? Could they be, working with medicinal fibers is going to be the future of fashion. There's no doubt about it, because there's so much rise of disease. And being able to culminate fibers that can introduce an oxygen supply that I've never really experienced because we're so used to synthetic. This is going to be a transformation for all of us. So where the materials are sourced, local and global. So how many people, when you go shopping, you can just raise your hand, how many people go shopping and they know where their product is sourced? Do we look on our tags and say made in China? Does anybody ever look?
Yeah, it's always China.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And it's made in China, and that is an issue that we have to get away from. Of course, we know what's going on in China. We know there's not a lot of fair trade going on in China. So being able to get local, but also support fair trade. I am #1 with fair trade. I support local. I know that this America needs help just as much as anyone else, because we have a lot of disease, and everybody can hands down agree with me on that. America is not, a perfect entity separate from, other countries, foreign countries. Local, yes, is important. However, we don't necessarily know if that product is still ethical. There are factories, especially in the U.S., that are, we can assume that they're ethical, but we don't necessarily know. If they don't brand themselves as ethical, even in the U.S., we have to consider our options. Are they still ethical? It's something to think about. I know that I don't really want to talk about any brands, but I do know a few brands that say they're made local, but there's slave labor everywhere. It's not just overseas. So we got to get back to our roots. Of course, local is a beautiful thing. However, do we want the consciousness of our planet to evolve where everyone gets a chance to kind of advance and become enlightened? And a lot of those underdeveloped countries, they need our help. And we need their help. Because we all have this imbalance where some of the more spiritually advanced countries, they may have more poverty. We are more technological, but how can we help them with their technology? How can they help us with their spirituality, that type of thing? So it's a really interesting perspective. Can we go local, and do we know if local is the answer? It is part of the answer, but we cannot assume that local means not ethical. And this is an important part that I address because a lot of people don't think of it. Everybody goes, oh, it's local, this is, U.S. is cool, we don't do slave labor. Well, actually, we do. So what makes the brand sustainable? Made in the USA does not mean it's ethical eco. So we did cover this. We've got 15. Okay. What makes the brand sustainable? Transportation, shipping, packaging. So this is another issue that consumers can actually participate in, because when we go to a store, we're getting all this plastic and paper. Of course, we can bring our shopping bags, and that will solve all problems. But I'll tell you a secret about the fashion industry. It's not a secret, but in the fashion industry, if you haven't heard, the manufacturing, they use all plastic. They plastic, say they have an order of 1,000 shirts that go to a department store. Those 1,000 shirts are individually packaged with plastic. That is just not cool. So we have to come to terms with, can we wrap them in tissue paper? Can we wrap them in a sustainable way? The packaging involved with the shipping. I know that when we ship from foreign countries to the US, are we using ships that are polluting the earth, polluting the oceans? We gotta get into green transportation. And green transportation is gonna solve a lot of issues. It's gonna solve a lot of problems because green transportation is the future of being able to sustainably support fair trade. A lot of people say, oh, we're gonna reduce our carbon footprint. We're not gonna do fair trade, we're gonna go local. Well, let's go fair trade and just use green transportation. That could be solving a ton of issues, and it could also be escalating the future of green transportation. So everything is involved, and the food industry is also like completely involved because I don't know if anybody has heard about Monsanto. Raise your hand if you've heard about Monsanto. Okay, we've all heard about Monsanto. Hi, how are you?
Sorry.
Thanks for coming in. So Monsanto, and this, you came in a really good part because I wanted to talk a little bit about Monsanto and who originated synthetic fiber. Monsanto was one of the original creators of synthetic fiber. In the 1930s and 40s, they were the participants and they were the rising business of Chemstrand. Chemstrand was their fiber industry, fiber and textile industry. And they created this boom. They were part of the Industrial Revolution. They created this boom of synthetics. Monsanto, you don't hear anything about Monsanto being involved in the fashion industry. Well, at this point, they created such a high demand over the years and decades that we've just relied on synthetics, and we haven't really opened our eyes ever since. But being able to harness this concept, okay, Monsanto is a part of the synthetic fashion industry. They were part of the polyester, they were part of the acrylic. They made acrylon. Acrylon was their patent fiber. Acrylic is one of the top worst synthetic fibers in the industry. Acrylic is so carcinogenic. I mean, if you actually smell it, you can smell it. It just smells like a rubber tire. Has anybody smelled acrylic? If you go to a shop, look and find acrylic. It's that really nappy, nasty feeling fiber. Smell it. You will smell fumes. I think you not. You will smell it. So, my Healthy Fashion campaign, if you do go to my news media network, we're actually in conjunction association with my Healthy Fashion campaign, and I promote my Healthy Fashion campaign on alternative fashion media. So we do talk about Monsanto, DuPont, Bayer, Crop Science, all these really large chemical companies that were the originators of the synthetic fiber industry, and to date, they are highly corrupt, and I'm not really, trying to put any pressure or promote negatively towards these companies. However, if you look at Monsanto and the GMOs, we've got GMO fibers now, GMO cotton. We actually have GMO corn fiber called NGO. That's the new eco trend. People are really stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, we want NGO, we want corn fiber. Guess what? It's GM. And not only that, it's actually made from sugar. So your body is basically getting more sugar on your body. Because the NGO is basically, it's broken down, it breaks down the corn into sort of like a corn syrup. So they're making, it's like a sugar fiber. And when we put sugar, we don't need enough sugar in our bodies, do we? I mean, no one wants to wear sugar. We already are trying to curb our sugar intake, but putting sugar in our body, that's just not cool. So there's this elevation of plant plastics, biopolymers. Is it the answer for fibers? No. It could be the answer for like packaging? Say hemp plastic, for instance? Yes. But this new NGO, be on the lookout for NGO because I do forget. Oh, Cargill. Cargill just did $150 million investment on NGO fiber. They have a plant, and I think it's Alabama, and it's going to be huge. NGO is going to be, it's already huge, but we cannot support NGO fiber because it's GM. All corn that's being planted in the U.S., without a doubt, is GM. So just, stay away from the NGO fiber, among other things. Okay. So eco-retailers, brands that contribute to the following retail distributors. So e-shops, vintage, resale, organic, designer, recycled. I know that Kim is in the audience today. She owns Revolution, and she has an incredible shop where she does half consignment and she does half eco. So she's bringing in sustainability. That's what it's all about. It's all about resale. It's all about consignment. Getting to those thrift stores, purchasing garments that are already wearable, so that we don't have to create a demand for more, because we already have so much. And what one top would be considered passe to one person, to another person it would be treasure. It would be like a gold mine. So we have to really take a real good consideration of why, are we snubbing thrift shops? Are we snubbing these secondhand fashions, and why are we? Because it's a renovation. It's the new thing, really, and it's so important. It's not just for people who have under budgets and that can't afford it. It's for everybody. And then, so Kim also has a side with eco fashions and new product, and it's incredible. It's incredible. Kim, have you guys been to Revolution yet in White River Junction?
Oh, yeah.
See, okay, so you guys are all very aware. It's an incredible shop, and we are actually trying to put together a film for alternative fashion media and have it as Revolution, and sort of create some kind of concept of a business model that can really usher in a revolution, a future fashion type innovation. So organic, if you can buy organic, if you can afford organic, go for organic. Organic is, you feel the difference. Organic is amazing fiber, plant-based fiber. You can get organic wool. However, again, a lot of people have allergens, so I would totally fend for the organic plant-based. How many people own any organic? Raise your hand. Yeah. And don't you just feel the difference? It's an incredible thing, and people may not notice the difference. It's very subtle, but it's incredible. And when we get down to the road of things, we're going to want to get into plant-based dyes, not just not just organic fibers. There's, a huge profit building in regards to organic fibers, but we're using chemical dyes for our organic fibers, so there's some contradiction going there. Are we going to advance and go completely plant-based, 100% plant-based? I would love that. I think we would all love it, because, we are mini Earths. We're the Earth. We're like our own ecosystem. And when we wear plants, it's like we're just wearing like the Earth, and I say this, the Earth is covered in plants, so we can cover ourselves in plants. I think that's the optimal solution. So we went through it. Synthetic, animal, plant. Synthetic is unbreathable. Animal, like I said, this is a personal belief, and I'm really not going to go there on the subject right now, because we don't really have a lot of time. But animal is your own philosophical belief. It's what you believe in, and sometimes it's really sustainable. There's a lot of people that wear leather because it lasts 30 years. It is sustainable, but is there ethics involved? You have to make sure the product has its certifications. So what is toxic fashion? To sum it up, it is synthetic. Anything synthetic, polyester, acrylic, acetone, nylons. If you want to go with nylons, get silk. Silk, it's worth the investment. Silk nylons will not run. I had a friend too, that she's had her nylons for over 10 years. They're from Wolfers. They're silk. They do not run. That's beauty, isn't it? Because nylons run. So acrylic, polyester, those are the two to be out on the lookout for. Polyester and acrylic are the worst fibers to wear, including nylon. Nylon is the top too. Nylon, acrylic, polyester. Those are the dominant synthetic fibers. And right there, polyester, nylon, acrylic. And what's the healthiest? Plant-based. It's breathable. Plant-based breathes. It's like, when you go in a garden and you smell the flowers, you're stepping in barefoot on the grass, how do you feel? Don't you feel alive? Do you guys, you feel alive. And then, because you're getting that oxygen, that element, you're getting the elements of the plants on your body. It's really it's not just a mind-body connection, it's an earth-body connection. So you're getting, it's influencing you. And I know some of this is a little bit, kind of symbolic. However, I really do love symbolism, and I also really do have a fondness for bringing more plants into the fashion industry. The top #1 fabric in the world is polyester. The pollution is at its level of highest. The top most polluted industry is oil, and the second is fashion. And what is fashion made out of? Oil. Why we're #2? Because we're making synthetic fiber. And nobody talks about that, but we have to really address that. And whether you guys have theories of global warming, the pollution on this earth is really contributing to a lot of disease. I do feel like these oil fabrics they're not helping our body or our consciousness. So I love this because, and we will wrap it up in about 10 minutes. I love this picture. This is saran wrap. Okay, she saran wrapped her body. What happens when you cover leftover foods? You seal it. No oxygen gets in there, so the food can preserve. So what we're doing to our body, we're sealing it from its oxygen. We're cutting off the oxygen supply when we're plastic. There's no difference with wearing saran wrap and polyester. Sure, with the advanced tech fibers that synthetic industry has produced, there could be some different levels of, contributing to your breathability, but at this point, it's very, very difficult to make a synthetic fiber breathable. It's almost impossible to make it it can't even stand the chance next to plant-based. So whenever you think of plastic fiber, just think of this picture. You're wrapping yourself in saran wrap. We are not food to preserve, we don't want to trap that oxygen away. We want to be we're like our own plant. We need to breathe. We need to have that oxygen flow. So this was where I got into a little bit of the history of fashion. The top chemical leaders and creators of synthetic fashion are Monsanto, Crop Science, Bayer, and DuPont. And it's just really interesting to note because, and I will tell you this, no one has tapped into this information out there. In this Healthy Fashion campaign, we're creating a series, a mini documentary series about the history of fashion and synthetics. So if you do go to alternativefashionmedia.com, I encourage you to follow because we're going to be talking all about this, and we are creating a mini documentary series for it. The teaser should be launched within a couple of weeks, and then we're going to have I've done a lot of work on this project, and it's going to make us be more aware, okay, GMOs are in our food industry, what's in our fashion industry? Well, if Monsanto is a part of it, then we can't just look away from that. And I don't want to put pressure on anybody in regards to what we wear. It's going to always be progress, and it's always going to be a process. No one's just going to completely transform. We all have to, as a collective, transform. And as this, we will be tolerating and trying to be as factual as we can. We're not going to try to put the emotions involved with these businesses, these chemical businesses that are killing us. So, economical demand of synthetic, fast fashion and its effects. So this is where the consumer is involved. It's pure, intense emotions, not about design, it's about feelings. So that's how we get moved and We get gravitated towards the product. It's our feelings, it's our emotions, it's our attachments. When we go shopping, it's therapy. There's without a doubt, shopping is always going to be that form of therapy. So when we focus and think, so where do I want to shop? Do I want to shop at Walmart? Do I want to shop where they do slave labor, where they make use yellow dyes that have pigments of totally toxic amounts of chemicals? There's something about, I can't put my thought onto it, but there's okay, yellow dyes have a specific amount of, it's not going to come to me, chemical. If you go to my Healthy Fashion campaign, you'll know. But basically, Walmart is not where we want to shop. Do we want to shop at Revolutions? Boutiques that care, they want to give you something that you want to wear over and over again for years, something that you care about. And I'll tell you, Revolution's a really high fashion place. You go to the high fashion places, you're going to get something that you want to treasure. You don't want to get something that you're going to toss in a couple of months. And most people don't, but it happens. I mean, we're all people. We all, get consumed with the emotions. We're like, okay, I'm going to wear this, and then I'm not going to wear it. Fossil fuel, climate change, fashion industry, second. Okay, so we did go over this. We did go through that. And this is chemical dyes and waste, and this is happening. All of our waters are getting polluted with chemical dyes all over the world. So this is really why we got to step up and find some plant-based chemical dyes that can actually mass produce. At this point, we can't, or we're not. It's not impossible, but there's definitely going to be some, developments involved with plant-based dye technology. So environmental human destruction. And I love that biohazard symbol. I use that quite frequently because it really sums up what we're dealing with fashion. Toxicity. Plants, when we eat plants and non-toxic plants, organic plants, that's what we're coming to, these grocers. We're all kind of trying to veer towards organic food. So when we go and veer towards organic plant fibers and dyes, it's going to just take our health to the next level. And I love this quote. Alexander McQueen, he's a late fashion designer from London. He's a high fashion designer and he knew his thing. He basically and he is a fashion genius. Because fashion is so indicative of the political and social climate in which we live, what we wear will always be a symptom of our environment. So this basically sums up what we're talking about. Our environment echoes what we are, and what we are echoes our environment. Can you be environmentally friendly and still be fashionable and not give up your style? Who says yes? Of course, yes. It can happen. It's tough at some points, but we can make it. We can make through this, and we can get more proactive of our fibers, which is ultimately, it's not so much about the design and silhouette. And that is a whole nother topic in of itself. So build your sustainable wardrobe, choose fabrics and fits. That's where you're going to get the most out of your money and the most out of your product. Get the fit. If you know you love the fit, you know you're going to wear it. So make sure that you get that product and it hits your shoulders correctly. It hits the hips and the waist. It falls down to the ankle where you like it, unless you're going to get tailored. Natural fibers, we went through that. Visit your local tailor, and this is another thing. If you don't have a handy sewing kit with extra buttons and needles and thread, you can go to a tailor. They're super inexpensive, and you can get something patched or seamed, or if you have a hole or something, you can get those ends fixed so your favorite piece can continue to be your favorite piece. I know that, I have a skirt with invisible zipper, and I sew, and I still don't want to take the time to fix that zipper. So it's difficult. So we have to make it fun. We have to make mending clothing a fun experience, And that's You're also going to be a difficult, challenging thing to do. So if you don't find fun in it, bring it to your tailor, your seamstress. So at this point, I really want to get into questions, and we really kind of got through this. Look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous picture of the Givenchy Atelier? So high fashion, that's another thing I wanted to address. Should we be investing in high fashion? Well, if it's high fashion and you're going to invest in that product and it's going to be in your closet for decades, yes, go for it. Getting that quality and you know, kind of eschewing the H&Ms and the Forever 21s, this is where it's at. And as a designer, I'm going to ready to wear. I'm at this point, my craftsmanship, I would need to, you know, get with a pattern maker and elevate my product to, you know, ready to wear. But ready to wear is the best because you're investing in a product that's going to last you. And you're going to love it because you spend more money on it. You're like, oh, I spent this much? Okay, I love it. You know what I mean? So it does help. It helps when you spend more money on an item versus buying a $10 t-shirt that you could say, hey, you know, that wasn't a lot of money. For some reason, we do get psychological with money, and those numbers do mean something. And they do mean they do mean craftsmanship. They do mean quality. You're going to get a product that you want and that you can wear and that you will wear. So we're going to wrap things up, and we will end with this. We're all fashionistas here, apparently, and this is obvious. You're all dressed beautifully. I love your clothing. So be the fashionista that promote that eco, work your style, and really, as we all are consumers, we all do, you know, relate and have this collective experience. So being able to be a promoter of not only style, but eco is the transition of the future of fashion. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming here. It means so much to me. It really does. You guys were such a great crowd. I'm sorry that it was a little bit rushed at the end, but I really do appreciate your support here. And I hope that you all learned and took away from this piece. What do we have for questions? Yes.
What's with spandex? Why are they putting it in everything? It's not so great for women of my age because it's clinging. You don't want clingy things.
Yep. Well, that's true. Spandex creates movement. And I like spandex because I'm a huge knitwear fan. I like to move. You know, I was a dancer growing up, and I continue to be very active, and I don't like stiff fibers because I can't move in it. We do need to come up with an alternative to that elastane. It's an elastic. And it's synthetic elastic. And because it can pull, it has some stretch and it doesn't break. So spandex, this is really the only fiber that we have to create that elasticity. And this has been on my mind quite some time. How can we make spandex that is plant-based? So spandex is an elastic. It's a form of elastic. It's a bonded web, synthetic fiber, and they do infiltrate it into the fibers to create that movement. So to be able to correct that, knitwear doesn't have to really depend on spandex so much as putting it in a stretch fiber, like a linen stretch spandex. But at this point, you bring up a good point. Thank you for addressing that. We do need to find a plant-based elastic. That's great. Great question.
To add to what she was talking about, I like movement too, and I find merino wool and giving that movement without the spandex.
Great.
Being added to it.
So merino wool, if you have allergens to wool, but merino wool does have some really competitive fibers out there in regards to synthetic. Very competitive with synthetic. if you want to go for the wool.
I live in it, and I
So you
don't
love
like,
it.
and I am somebody that's sensitive, and I would itch, and I don't.
Yeah,
I
most.
do yoga in it.
Yeah, because it's a
everything.
finer blend. It's a much finer blend,
Right.
and it does feel almost like it's natural. So yeah, that could be one option. Thank you for sharing that.
And I also wanted to add that I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm fascinated with the parallels to the agriculture and food industry and this
Oh,
clothing. I
had no
never
idea.
connected it, but I am seeing the rise of the petrochemical industry. It turned our farming way of life away from organic and added pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, fertilizers, all from petrochemical. And it's done nothing but wreak havoc on us. And now you're telling me the same story with our
It's
clothing
interconnected,
industry.
yeah.
And it's fascinating because our food industry got too fast. We got too much food and it was all cheap. Cheap food is not good food.
It's the same
And
thing,
the
yeah.
clothing has done the same thing. Like my friends are buying clothing by the pound. There's so much of it out there. They can go to these centers where you can get resourced
Wow.
clothing, and they're buying it by the pound. Like there's so much clothing out there, and you know what? Everyone wants instant, and they can't live with it.
Yeah.
3 months with the same outfit and you're done with it, and there is this craving that you don't want it to last. You just want to keep getting new, cheap.
It's like I said, it's an emotional component, and it's
Right.
it's what we're dealing with fast food, fast
Fast
fashion.
food and fast food.
It's all contradictory. It's all interconnected because really, what I have to really press upon is what we eat and what we wear. We're feeding our body both ways. We're feeding our body through our pores.
Right.
These plastics don't stay in. If we're getting microfibers into the ocean and feeding the fish plastic and they're eating the plastic, what about us? You know, when we breathe in, when we sweat and get it through our pores, we don't even have to sweat. Chances are it's getting into our body and we are feeding it. Because all our fibers land in shed fiber. But yeah, that's an amazing point that you're sharing and that you're revealing. That, yeah, it's parallel and the similarities of food industry and fashion industry are really relevant today. Great.
So first a comment, which is that I absolutely notice if I wear something that's 100% cotton and I sweat, I don't smell, but if I wear anything that's got any added anything to it, I definitely think it gives you body odor. So that's an interesting observation. I wanted to ask about your clothing line. So, you know, after some research, I was able to find the Koyuchi brand organic cotton sheets, which they use organic dyes for, which is not easy to find.
Yeah.
So your fashion line, are you using organic cotton and how are you sourcing it?
Yes. At this point, I'm an immersion designer of a startup, so we're doing small batch orders, small quantities. But we do go to fabric suppliers, hemp traders is one of them, and Organic Cotton Plus. I do a lot of hemp cotton blends. I do some silk. I know it's animal, but just do a little bit of silk. Do a lot of linens. I really want to get into linen jersey because it does not pill. Linen jersey is a miracle fiber. I have a shirt, linen jersey, and it doesn't pill. And Tencel. Tencel's a lyocell. It is a manufactured plant-based fiber,
Yeah, I was going to
but
ask you about Tencel and
Tencel.
rayon. What are those?
rayon is toxic.
Rayon
I
is
love
what?
rayon.
Rayon is so,
No, I was wondering
yes,
when you hear
it's
that.
soft, it's everything, but they use like lots and lots of chemicals that are hazardous.
But Tencel's very soft, and you're saying that's...
Tencel is more of a lyocell, which it has a greener way of being manufactured. It doesn't have a ton of junk put into it, so So Tencel would be your best bet, and Jersey Tencel is also an incredible fiber.
The rayon is that fiber base, but you're saying the treatment of it after?
The treatment, basically with rayon, you have to basically immerse it into a solvent of chemicals to form the fiber, to form the filament, polymer. So it's not, it can't be natural and plant-based if it's being submerged into chemicals. Like, so basically it takes two. It takes the chemicals to make a fiber, rayon. So you're wearing those chemicals as well as the fiber. I've lived in rayon for a long time myself, and when I've been doing my research on healthy fashion campaign, I realized I'm gonna have to give it up. But Tencel, Jersey Tencel is a great alternative to rayon. Yes.
How is Pima cotton different from regular cotton? It seems nicer, softer.
It's because of the fibers are finer, so the weave, it's softer because I can't give you like a legitimate answer for that, but I know that it has to do with the thread count. It does have to do with thread count, yeah. There's a higher thread count. So the more fibers, the more of the threads, the less coarse the fiber. The higher the threads, the softer, silky, more lustrous fibers happen.
I have a question.
Yes?
So I remember reading recently, so in the last month or two, I guess, about how some of the larger Parisian and Italian couture houses were talking about not having fashion collections as often and not doing like the pre-resort wear and the resort wear. And I was wondering if they actually follow through with that, if that would affect the rest of the industry and sort of have an impact on fast fashion, the H&Ms and the Primarks and the Forever 21s of the world.
Well, the runways are changing. We're having a different time cycle and fashion cycle happening, so consumers are going to get a different experience with high-end retail. Basically, the fashion shows, and that's a great question. The fashion shows are going to be public to the consumer. It's not just going to be for the designers, the press, the media, and the buyers. It's going to be for the public as well. So we are shifting. See, there is this cyclic action happening in the fashion industry, and these runways, these runway fashion shows are going to be more retail friendly in regards to getting the consumer involved, and it will shift our economy. Yes, great. Awesome. Any more questions?
There was a fundraiser with Metropolitan Museum fashion show, and they did have some actually natural fabrics. They also have some digital produced outfits, which is another thing.
Now that's great that you brought that up. Tech fashion is becoming this new entity. We're all stuck on our phones and computers, and putting on our body is just not necessary. I know that there's been huge investments in tech fashion, and it's just, we're not supposed to be wearing these fiber optics. We're not supposed to be wearing these tech fibers that are digitally composed. It's just not necessary, and we really can't. Fashion tech is a multi-layered industry where it does involve like apps and different types of tech fashion programs and businesses and opportunities in regards to developing like say virtual boutiques or virtual fitting rooms online. But tech fashion, where we put making these tech fibers with the different digital materials, it's not necessary, and it's not healthy. So yeah, that's another really amazing question. Thank you. Amazing statement.
Do you know this store? I'm trying to think if I know the name. I think Uniqlo. It's
Yes.
Japanese, and they're supposed to be friendly to the environment.
That Uniqlo is like, from my understanding, it's it's just like another mass market. I have not,
It is a mass market.
and I have not researched
I wonder if it's.
I have not researched the ethics and sustainability behind Uniqlo. I kind of just because it's not here, I can't really
No,
relate
they
to
have
Uniqlo.
it there now
It's-
in Boston, they have in the
Okay.
big store.
Okay, it's like.
And I was wondering if it's really.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Organic
can't
and
answer that
you don't know.
question, yeah. But I would like to learn more about that shop. I know that Target and H&M have tried to create some, department areas where they sell some eco-fashion. But at the same time, I don't think that they're being as productive as they should be. Because if you're a mass market in general,
That's it.
it's really hard to make it, no matter what mass market place you are at. It's very
So how
hard to
can you
make it.
trust when you buy something and they telling you, that's their, slogan, I
That's-
guess, we are
yeah.
the environment and
It-
everything is
You gotta align with there's an energy system too behind this. You can actually find the energy behind the clothing, the vibration. Like, there's different, plants, they vibrate at a different level than plastic synthetic. Synthetic doesn't really have, I don't think they have a frequency. And when you go shopping, you really have to just really narrow in on an intuitive level, but you also you can check the websites, you can question. Basically, what you see is basically what you're going to get at this point. If they're not promoting ethics, eco, chances are they're not. Chances are very likely they're not. But yeah, that's also it's a very important point that you make because these mass markets are dominating the fashion industry, basically, and that's why they're creating all of this consumer demand because they're using so many synthetic fibers. So just, even if you guys have to go to department stores to shop, just choose natural. That's the bottom line. Just choose plants first. That's
Will
the
it be
top.
said or how do we know that what's plant? How do
Yeah,
we
they'll
know?
say 100% natural cotton,
They would say
linen.
that, okay.
Cotton
And
and
you
linen
trust
are the
them.
two most obvious plants. Tencel is good. You can do a little silk. Silk's not bad. If you want to do animal, you can do wool.
Yeah,
Because wool is.
What about
Wool is
cashmere?
sustainable, it's a renewable resource, and you're not killing
Oh no,
animals.
I'm not. I don't promote wool because
You're-
I don't use wool. I'm not an animal-based brand. I'm a plant-based brand.
Okay.
I'm not against wool. It is a smaller commodity. It's not. It can never be a global expansion of all wool. Everybody wearing wool. It can't because there's not enough animals, and that would be animal cruelty. Plants
Right, you
are
wanna
the
integrate
most.
many.
Plants are going to be the future
For
of
some
fashion.
things, like socks, wool socks are amazing. I have
And like I
teenage
said,
boys
yeah.
and I have no stink. And I cut the laundry in half because we can wear our clothing much longer before it needs to be washed.
And
The
I will
wool-based
agree with
clothing.
you. I think that wool, there is a place for wool in the
Yeah.
industry. However, inverse advancement in the future of fashion, it's not top yet. So we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Thank you.
You guys are such a blessing. Thank you so much.